Suppose if I have a try catch block, okay,
Okay.
okay, and below which the you have a try block, okay.
Okay.
If there is some code which is throwing exception in the middle, so and there is some code after which, okay, will the other code gets executed or it's not executed?
The way you handle the exception that you have to define it. Whether basically like if you are suppose if you are running a program in middle of it, you are getting some exception. Either we can skip it in the method, like a method level, right? Method inside you'll be writing lines of code where some of the line is throwing exception. So if you have a requirement, still you need to continue for the next line. You can just skip it and go to the next line. Basically, you can handle inside the catch box itself what are the functions need to be implemented or what are the scenarios you can execute. Or otherwise, you can basically you can write a finally statement, come out of that method, and it will go to the next line of the execution.
Okay. Suppose I have a try, okay, I have a try block, okay.
Okay.
I after which catch block I have exception, catch exception I have it, okay,
Okay.
and below it I have catch null pointer exception I have added,
Okay.
okay. Now if I'm throwing a null pointer exception, which block get executed? Catch block.
Basically, when you if you have written as a first as an exception, it will go to the exception only. Basically, the best practice of handling an exception handling is nothing but we need to not to mention the base exception of the thing. When you're working as a when you're implementing a code, when you're working with an development activity, we should not mention the exact base exception in our code. So basically, as you told in your scenario, that will go to the exception scenario when you have mentioned first as exception only. It will not go for the null pointer exception because you have mentioned as a first thing as a exception catch exception. So that will execute in the exception part only. It will not go for the null exception, null pointer
But
exception.
does it throw any compiler error?
No, it won't throw. Basically, it won't throw compiler error and all. It will
Okay.
still compile it.
See, in Spring, right, I want to do some global exception handling. How do you do it?
Basically say I have worked in traditional way only, but coming to learn when I was working with a Spring Boot to learn, I have seen scenarios like controller advice. That is one of the annotation which we write it. Basically, like inside of that class, where we need to mention the exceptions throwing in it. Like basically, we throw the some customized exception. We need to annotate that method with an exception handler. So basically, like what whenever a method or a Spring Boot, like any class is throwing some customized exception, it will reach to the exception handler and return that response to us.
Okay. See, can static methods be overridden?
No, basically, like we cannot override the static methods. We can hide it. That's all. Basically, it is not an instantiate of a class, right? It is a class method. Okay.
Okay. And
So
can we overload static methods?
basically, can we can overload. I think so. I'm not sure. Sorry,
Okay.
I
See, in
haven't seen
Java,
this scenario.
okay, can I write a main method inside interface?
Main method
Inside an interface?
inside an interface. So you have an interface. So inside that you want a main method, you're saying.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can have main method, anything like that. But basically when comes to an JVM, the main method it should be have a signature like public static void main. So
Yeah,
basically
see,
you
I want
can
this public static void main only. I'm trying to keep it in an interface and run it. Will it work?
in interface. It should work. Uh,
You know about private and default methods in interface?
no, you cannot put it. Defaultly that interface inside will be the public only. So you need to mention public, otherwise static or final. These are the keywords which you can use
No,
it
no,
inside
public
the.
method only. Public method only I'm using. I'm
Hmm.
asking.
Uh-huh.
Are you aware of private and static methods and default methods in
Yeah,
Java?
yeah. Default methods I'm aware, like static methods and default methods I'm aware about it.
What are those? Can you explain
Uh,
with some examples?
like in interface, basically we have abstract methods only, right? Without an implementation. Where in this feature, like where we can have default methods and static methods. For example, if you want to say um, you can have a local date, set time and all. Like you can print the local date like a get time. What is a get date and all those informations are default methods which we can use it and in our derived class and all where you are using implementing the class, right? So in that class you can get that information. These are the default methods I have seen. Basically whatever related to object class, right? So you can have that in the interface.
Okay. So you know about comparable and comparator interfaces?
um, no, sorry, I haven't used it otherwise.
You are aware of volatile keyword?
Yeah, volatile keyword I am aware, but um, I'm just thinking the example where I'm used it.
Okay, you are aware of transient keyword?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have used a transient keyword. Basically, like when I was working in an entity object, right? So I want a field to be stored as an empty. Like I want a field member to be stored as an empty. So I was using as a at a transient annotation where when you are saving the object, like saving the entity, that whichever field is having the transient keyword, right? It will not persist into the database. So that is why I know.
See, Hibernate, right? You use it first level and second level cache.
No, basically I have worked on JPA repository only. Hibernate I haven't worked. Basically, if you want to second, basically defaultly we have first level cache, which that we cannot disable as well in the JPA repositories. For coming to a second level cache, basically we can derive in properties, I guess, like in the property file. So with the
You have experience on writing JUnit test cases and all.
Yeah, I have worked on JUnit test cases. So I have covered like around for Spring Boot, each and every Spring Boot, I have worked around like 90 percentage of coverage.
I mean, any best practices you have used in the project?
Uh, Best practices means in the sense I'm not sure. Like
I
basically
mean,
like
what are the steps you have taken to improve the code quality of the project and
okay,
improve
uh,
efficiency and code quality?
okay. Basically like when you're working with the code, we need to follow the standards which basically like client was having. Okay. So basically, in one Confluence, we have some coding standards which they have clearly mentioned in the Verizon client itself. We go through it and we have went all those trainings and all. So finally, when coming to the implementation, we basically we should not first thing we have to mention the acronym names for the REST API. All these things which should be very specific when you're working on it. So, and coming to the Java code, the class which you're working or creating a REST endpoint, it should be very clear with the documentation of the when generating a Java doc. All these things they will verify. And coming to third point, exception handling. So this exception handling, it's very specific, like what exception you're throwing. That is one of the main thing which we need to follow. Like basically, like very if you are not aware about the exception, like we have a customized class like runtime exception which we throw it. So that only we need to mention. Like basically, we should not throw the base exception class and all in the code. And coming to fourth point, like we should not have multiple iterations in the method signature. Like inside the method signature where should not have multiple iteration concepts and all. Basically, it will throw in the Sonar Cube like they have mentioned all this code quality check everything. So
Okay.
once we have all did this, we need to write the JUnit test cases for the each and every thing. So we mentioned for we need to mock all those objects, and we provide the like we need to clearly write the test cases and all. So they very specifically see all this information. Once the Java doc is generated, they go through all the information in that.
Sure, sure. You
So
used Swagger UI?
yeah, basically we have used Swagger UI as well, but it is restricted for us when we are working. But basically,
Sure.
client was using it.
Sure. See, I earlier have given you a customer and order table, right? So can
Okay,
you write entity mappings for them?
okay,
One to many you said, right? Can you write entity mappings for
yeah,
them?
sure. I'm writing that in comments. 1 minute.
Sure.
Uh, do we need to mention all the fields?
See, whatever you have, I mean, whatever you use. See, all others are attributes only, right? Main logic, how you join the relations and all, I
Oh,
don't have.
that only you need. Okay.
Yeah, you can choose one attribute only, that's fine. But the
How
main
about
logic and all syntax.
yeah, okay. So basically, this I'll be mentioning in the one-to-many relationship. A customer can have multiple orders. So basically, this will go and have the customer ID in the order entity table. So by this way, we will be using remaining all. I'll be mentioning like at column. For identity, I'll be using if you're having in your database like primary key as a sequence, you need to mention that sequence name. If you are using like auto generated, I'll be mentioning like ID, like a generation type.
Okay.
So all these things I'll be mentioning whether it is auto or identity. So with that,
Can you mention all of them? Can you mention all of them? Whatever you are able to recollect now, right? You can try whatever you are thinking.
okay,
Hello?
yeah. So these are
Yeah,
the things which I have.
fine. See, you have written customer class and inside you have added orders. But what about orders entity?
So for I can have a different entity name order.
Okay.
So where I can mention the table name as an order. Okay. So there you can mention it public class order. So there you have this order ID, right? Private long order ID. So in the attribute column, you can mention all those things. Private string order name. So by this way, I will be having all these getter setters. So I'll be handling all this information.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, how table name equal to order and order. Okay, where did you map that customer table here in order table?
No, I basically had it in the uh, like a primary table, right? Customer. So there you can have it is like unidirectional. Basically, I have written now. If you required, you can have bidirectional as well.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm. I think I'm done from my end. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else you would like to ask?
Like what kind of skill set you are looking for your
Full stack
current
only. Full
full
stack
stack?
only.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, some more on front end also they are looking.
Okay.
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 But anyways, I'm just a panel here. Okay.
Okay.
I'll give my
Okay.
feedback to the team and they'll
Okay.
get back to you for any. Okay. Keep
Okay.
brushing up
Sure.
your skills in UI as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I will do that.
UI,
Thank you.
Java, whatever. Keep brushing up your skills.
Yeah.
I'll update
Base.
the team. They'll get back to you for any. Okay.
Okay.